Why does your life feel almost right, but never enough? You're not sad, you're not failing, nothing is seriously wrong, and yet there's this quiet feeling that something is missing, like you're always close to being happy, but never fully there. And the strange part is, you can't even explain what's wrong. Because on paper, your life might actually be fine. You have things going for you. You're moving forward. You're doing what you're supposed to do. But that feeling never fully arrives. And over time, that starts to mess with your head, because you begin to question yourself. Maybe I'm ungrateful. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe something is wrong with me. And most people will give you a simple answer. They'll say, your life just isn't good enough yet. You need more success, more excitement, more progress, more meaning. They'll tell you happiness comes later, once you reach a certain point. And that idea is everywhere. Work harder, build more, achieve more, and eventually you'll feel it. But there's another possibility that almost no one talks about. What if the reason you feel almost happy all the time isn't because your life is missing something? What if it's because your brain has been trained to never feel satisfied, no matter what you have? And once you start looking at it this way, things begin to shift. Because you realize this pattern shows up everywhere in your life. You look forward to something for days, maybe weeks. You think about it, you imagine it, you build it up in your head, and for a moment it feels like this is it. This is the thing that will finally make you feel right. But when it finally happens, the feeling fades faster than you expected, and you're left with the same quiet emptiness, just slightly delayed. And that's not random. That's how your brain works. Dopamine, the chemical most people associate with happiness, isn't actually about enjoying what you have. It's about chasing what you don't have. It rewards anticipation, not arrival. So the closer you get to something, the more excited you feel. But the moment you reach it, your brain resets and starts looking for the next thing, which means you're stuck in a loop where you're always moving, always chasing, always getting closer, but never actually arriving. And this is where things get complicated, because some people will argue that this is a good thing. They'll say, this is what keeps you motivated. This is what drives growth. If you were completely satisfied, you would stop improving. You would settle. You would lose your edge. And in a way, they're right. This constant sense of almost is what pushes you forward. It's what makes you want more. It's what keeps you from staying where you are. But here's the other side that almost no one wants to admit. What if that same system is also the reason you can't feel content even when your life is objectively good? What if you're not chasing happiness anymore? You're just addicted to the feeling of chasing. And once you see that clearly, it becomes uncomfortable. Because now the problem isn't outside of you, it's inside your own pattern of thinking. And this is where modern life quietly makes everything worse. Because your brain is no longer comparing your life to reality. It's comparing it to constant stimulation. Endless scrolling, short videos, instant rewards, quick bursts of excitement that keep resetting your expectations higher and higher. So normal life starts to feel slower, quieter, less intense, not because it is worse, but because your brain has been conditioned to expect more. And this creates a very specific state. You're not unhappy, but you're not satisfied either. You're just existing in this middle space where everything feels almost good enough, but never fully enough. And the dangerous part is, this doesn't feel like a problem. It feels normal. It feels like this is just who you are, someone who can't fully enjoy things, someone who always wants more, someone who never feels completely at peace. But that's not your personality. That's a pattern. And patterns feel permanent until you see them clearly. Because if you don't, you'll keep trying to fix the wrong thing. You'll keep thinking you need a better life, a better situation, a better version of yourself, when in reality, what needs to change is not your life, but your relationship with how your mind processes it. And this is where things shift in a way most people don't expect. Because the solution isn't to chase bigger highs. It's not to find something more exciting or more meaningful. It's actually the opposite. It's learning how to feel something from normal moments again. It's lowering the constant need for stimulation. It's allowing your brain to slow down enough to notice what's already there. And that sounds simple, but it feels almost uncomfortable at first. Because when you remove constant stimulation, you're left with silence. And in that silence, you start to notice how restless your mind actually is. And most people avoid that feeling, so they go back to chasing, they go back to scrolling, they go back to filling every empty space with something. Because doing nothing feels worse than feeling almost happy. But here's the truth: most people miss. Happiness was never meant to be constant. It was never meant to be intense all the time. It was supposed to be subtle, occasional, something you notice, not something you force. But when your brain gets used to constant stimulation, that subtle feeling becomes harder and harder to recognize. So you start thinking it's not there, when in reality, you've just lost the ability to feel it clearly. And this is why you feel like you're always almost happy. Because your brain is waiting for something strong enough to break through the noise. But real life rarely works like that. And once you understand this, the question changes. It's no longer, why am I not happy? It becomes, what has my brain been trained to expect? And that question leads you somewhere much more honest. Because now you're not trying to fix your life, you're trying to understand your patterns. And once you see those patterns clearly, something shifts. You stop chasing intensity and start noticing depth. You stop looking for something missing and start questioning what you've been overlooking. And maybe, for the first time, you realize that the feeling you've been chasing was never supposed to be constant in the first place. And here's the part that really matters. If that constant feeling of almost disappeared, if you suddenly felt completely satisfied, completely at peace, would that actually feel good? Or would it feel empty? Because for a lot of people, the feeling of almost is the only thing that keeps them moving. It's familiar, it's predictable, it gives them direction, even if it never gives them fulfillment. So the real question isn't, why am I not fully happy? The real question is, have you become so used to chasing that you no longer know how to feel when there's nothing left to chase? And once you start asking that question, you're no longer stuck. You're finally aware. And if this made you see yourself a little differently, then you already understand more than most people do. And if you want to keep exploring how your mind actually works, make sure you subscribe and like. Because the more you understand your patterns, the less they control you.